Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Octane Collegiate Season 2. This time, we are here with the grand finals of Stage 1. My name is Dia, and as yesterday, Church, you are back here joining me. My cat
What's
sticker
going
still
on,
points the way to
everybody?
Church. Welcome back.
What is going on, everybody? How are we feeling tonight? Yeah, I am absolutely excited and stoked to see what these two lobbies being merged together now of the top 10 from each lobby do here in this final performance. A couple of these teams are
It,
stacked.
it is really stacked. In fact, we got to see some of that stacking yesterday. For those of you who managed to tune in to see the semifinals that we streamed, what was it, just over 24 hours ago, it would have
Yep.
been. So we've come back here today, not just with the semifinalists that you saw advance yesterday, but with the whole other side of the lobby that we didn't get to see here on the main stream. That you may follow them yourselves, but to us, bit of a mystery. They're a bit of an X factor. We've got those teams listed for you right now. As on the left side are those from Group A that we saw proceed yesterday. On the right side, however, with Kensaw State Gold, all the way down to CSU Dominguez, that is entirely to us on the mainstream new teams. Though a lot of them have history in collegiate, it'll be interesting how they interact with the former 10 teams.
Yes, Tia. Now, one thing I'd like to point out for chat here is that KSU Gold ended with 149 points from Group B. Our ISU Farmers in Group A ended with 112, and we thought that was a stellar performance. So they have some competition coming into the grand final here. And across the board, Dia, all of these teams fought incredibly hard in their respective lobbies. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I would almost go to say that the lobbies seemed incredibly balanced, and these two forces now being put together, I just think it's gonna be absolutely something spectacular.
And a big part of this, and I'll exclude Iowa State farmers from this particular conundrum, but was that a lot of teams were playing zone and playing zone very heavily. Teams like Iowa State and Texas A&M Maroon were some notable exceptions to this, and it's no wonder that they're sitting at places 1 and 2. But consistency was actually a really big strength of our what we'll call semifinals bracket A yesterday. So now that we're combining the two and changing the format a little bit, Church, I'm really fascinated
Ooh.
to see how the teams will do there. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about what's different today versus yesterday?
So today we're going into a match point format. The match point format will not actually be unlocked until after match six. So all of these teams are going to be playing six matches guaranteed. But once match seven starts, any team with 50 points or higher that then subsequently wins the next match, they are your winners, Dia, of the grand finale.
That'll be a big moment to come, and as we start setting up for that, the stage begins to stack up now. Our first game on World's Edge is just beginning, and with the first time that these two lobbies are crashing, it may just be where we see some of the most contests that we'll get throughout the day. Because that first game, where you're all getting warmed up together, where some of you decide, yeah, well, we want to see if we can take this to the finals, this is where the fights really happen.
Now, so far, everything's looking pretty great and dandy. Not too many contests right off the bat. I am curious to see what Climatizer looks like, as it does look like there are two teams headed that way currently. We do have some teams splitting up their loot, as ISU farmers are over at Stacks and Mod, taking over both of those POIs. And so far, everything's looking pretty good, but it may get a little hectic as well over at Skyhook. But we do have a contest over at Climatizer.
Already pretty difficult way to start the tournament, but as we talked about, if you want to try and secure your own POI, that first game is the best time to do it before we hit game 6, before you're really in danger of having the competition get all the way from you. UA Sorority Row, they're the ones standing on top, controlling Climatizer. We'll see what happens beneath them.
Now, Sorority Row, they came in with a decent amount of points off of that second group. So we're going to be seeing a good contest here, more than likely. It maybe played out a little slow, but we did see a couple of shots come through very quickly. We have Siwa pointing out a couple of enemies with their PK, and Right Sway and them are now going to queue up on the side while also using an evac tower for distraction and take on that ultimate height, which is a great play, Dia, because now they can observe the entire area, try to locate where these teams are. And the craziest part to me is that there are two separate buildings with a big, nice gap in between the middle, yet they still push in just like this. And who's now dropping down to the lower floor, trying to stay alive? They do have Conduit Q activated, and Siwa's going to pop two cells here to re-sturdy themselves.
And just on the top floor, Who's was doing basically all of the work for GCU Oreo. Now that they're all grouped up on the bottom again, yes, Pander is low, yes, Pander is down, but GCU Oreo have gotten some serious damage in on top of this. The fact that they take the gondola and disengage is actually going to put them at a serious disadvantage now, perhaps more so than they would have been a couple seconds ago.
Yes, if they took that fight, D, I think they may have had a different outcome than they originally anticipated, as they did put out a lot of damage there to start that fight off. However, they did lose Panders there, and we'll have to see if they have a character selected that will give them the ability to reset completely for this squad. However, we do have Kennesaw State Gold now here at Skyhook. And looking like they're on the prowl. I know there was another team that dropped on Skyhook West, but it seems that they were able to come away with a gold, blue, and white here.
Not a bad way to start, especially when you've got some pretty nice rotations that'll take you out of, or perhaps in this case, into Sky West. This first ring does include the almost entirety of Skyhook, and we'll be getting an idea of where the end games will play out once teams start getting beacon scans for later on in the game. As of right now, teams like TMU Bold will be able to finish looting up trials and start to make their way into the next couple of buildings that seem to be drawing us ever further towards Fragment, Monument, whatever you want to call it, however you remember it, and increasingly Survey Epi up above.
Now we do have UHE varsity here utilizing that catwall to get out of a tough position. They're going to now utilize the coverage of the rocks here just outside of Monument as well as they move across this open space. Although they do have the house, if they want to bunker down, they do have zone information now going into round one closing. Still a ton of time, Dia, and they're going to situate themselves, as it seems, dead smack in the center of this zone pull.
Really interesting to see St. Clair on a very quick mirror. They're right behind Ocean as it stands, and without a ring scan of their own so far, they are just playing off of a lot of guesswork. They do have a catalyst to be able to grab the information if and when they find a survey beacon, but as of right now, St. Clair are just following everyone else's lead, and it seems to be working. Many teams, including FSU Black, have already decided survey is the place to be.
Yes, we have a lot of teams here now situating themselves, getting comfy cozy over at Survey. Some teams also on the outskirts, just like GCU. And they're looking a little rough here with only one blue shield advantage. And it looks like they're going to be chasing down another team now, potentially dropping on this tower here. However, looks like they've located somebody else on their prowl. It's going to be those teams that we did recognize over at Survey earlier on. So it looks like we have at least two teams occupying this space already, with one of those teams being UTSA Orange over at the Crossway.
Rampart Loba Fuse being picked up by GCU Moonlight is definitely something to keep our eyes on. The fact that they've set up near the construction tower just to the south of UT San Antonio is a really interesting factor, because with things like Rampart, Loba, and Fuse, you can throw out so much harass and still have so much sustain as a team playing in an otherwise suboptimal position. How much of a problem they're able to cause for the rest of the lobby is going to say so much about the caliber that today's games are starting at, how much teams are willing to deal with, and how coordinated they can be in eliminating threats around them.
Now, I also want to take note that we still have 19 squads going into the second zone. The quality here is high, and teams are definitely valuing their lives a little bit more so going into this first match. And it looks like KSU is potentially pushing into this bunker now, looking for some more information, but they are going to receive a bangle in return, and they're going to have to heal up here. Agasa is going to try and stay alive as their teammates are definitely on the struggle bus, and Florida State Black is just not going to let this happen.
As of right now, just bunkering up, but FSU are waiting for their moment to strike. Blue Sky is down for Kennesaw State Gold, and inside of Epi, perhaps not the best place to be. Throwing a quick nade up towards our Rampart Loba squad. Rekt looks like they'll be able to disengage, perhaps grab the res onto Blue Sky, and somehow Kennesaw State Gold are back on their feet.
Yes, I mean, that was the perfect opportunity for them as other teams started to look at each other. Great utilization of the bank smoke there to give themselves the opportunity with Rek getting out of dodge. However, they still have to find themselves a place to call home as they do not have a character that can set up walls such as Rampart that Lil here was able to pick up. And the combination, as you mentioned prior, with Fuse and the walls, they're going to be an absolute nuisance for Aqua here and the
The
Broncos.
constant refreshing of the amped cover, it just gives even this squad that has two whites and a blue. No health, no shields to work with. Plenty of flexibility when it comes to peeking other teams. Teams like UT San Antonio, who right now can't do anything but just eat knuckle clusters or stay inside. Those are your two options, and I really don't like either of them because even when you are staying inside these buildings, not showing presence around the outside, especially when you cannot reinforce every single door, means that other teams have the chance to close the gap on you and to put you in an uncomfortable situation that could mean mutually assured destruction.
Now, UT Dallas having one knocked here over at Landslide, and it looks like Texas A&M Maroon are flying up to capitalize on this. But however, they do lose one, and Fiddle going down. Pair also down, and it's up to Axie now,
Oh,
getting
Axe!
one kill, getting two kill. It's now a 1v1, Dia.
Axe trying to set up for some shield swaps. You've got to imagine Bates Bowser into a fight, gets their shields shredded, but Bowser's not in too much better of a condition yet. With a quick wall bounce, he ends up taking out Tamu Maroon and keeps the keeps UT Dallas in it.
Woo, that was something else. Kudos to this team's Tamu putting absolutely the largest effort to stay alive, trying to situate those armor swaps, as you mentioned. However, they come up just short there and do lose that fight at Landslide. We are now over with Fanshawe over at Epicenter. They recognize the teams in front of them. They do have a rotation to make here, but I do want to make notice of the teams that are in survey. A lot of those teams no longer have any type of zone information, so they're bunkering up and bracing the forces. But they may have to move as well. However, it does look like the zone may sit pretty here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where because they've already set up in a spot where they're expecting zone to end, it's almost better to just hang out and wait for any conflicting information to come in after that. Adapt with the rest of the lobby, especially as most of these teams have a catalyst. Those, rather, that I'm talking about in the survey. For other squads that are playing around the edge that may have access to scanning, especially one of the last remaining ring consoles over in Epicenter, teams like, say, Kennesaw State Gold, who now have a little bit of extra information, they may be able to play for even better spots. And it's this trade-off of, do you play zone really early and take a gamble that could lead you to fifth, or do you like Kennesaw State Gold, make it a little riskier, and try and play for first?
Now, KSU here, we have to remember that they did lose blue at one point and they were able to get the reset, and now they're in a beautiful spot. I mean, talk about height advantage in the zone. They have the zone information, so they know they're going to be just on edge by the time the next zone closes. And now we have UCSC moving in across a very open space that some would call a death zone because there's just not much to play around. Of course, you have the car there if you want to utilize the cart, but for this zone, it's just not going to do it. You're going to want to relocate. And SCC Ramen is trying to connect some shots here with this charge rifle. How do you feel about that, Dia?
I mean, I'm a big fan of the charge rifle. Do I like the charge rifle with the 2x4? A little less so, a little less, but we'll see what they can make happen. As we have seen St. Clair do some pretty crazy things in the past on some very big collegiate tournaments, and now looking for perhaps a look in the new season that is just as intimidating as their previous ones. The charge rifle, who's to say whether that's going to do it or not, but Grandma's house, she's hosting a party.
Tamu White now getting a little aggressive here. We also have St. Clair as well with the Prowler and Nemesis combo. Tay now taking some heavy damage with that push from what I believe is Tamu White on their outskirts. And
Ooh.
Chubb's going to have to get out of dodge here, give a little dash with the passive for Bangalore, and reset with the Phoenix, which they should be able to do because it looks like UT Dallas is not trying to push up on this.
Yeah,
We
with
do
UT
know that
Dallas
Bowser came up clutch earlier.
so close by as well. I love that you touch on the fact they've already eliminated a squad. UT Dallas are on the warpath, and it's no small wonder that they're playing around the edge of ring. We lose the UCSC Wildfires in the meantime, playing things out as a duo. Not going to make it even to 15th. No placement points collected for them. But UT Dallas, only one squad in their sights, and St. Clair could very well be in trouble.
Now, ISU Farmers, I mean, we could talk
Nice.
about them all day. I'm hoping some other teams give them a run for their money, but that is Kamal taking out Slasher there and getting the full kill as well. So that's going to be 1 KP for them going into these top 16 squads. And at 15, Dia, they do secure placement points. So we now have UNCW Ocean as a sole member with Percy trying to stay alive, trying to secure the exact points we're talking about. I mean, it comes down to a point where do you suck up the fact that you lost your members and do your best to stay alive for the points, or do you try to get those kills along the way? And I feel like it's in UNCW Ocean's best option to try to stay alive there. We do have UTSA Orange now going out, and we're down to 15 squads.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned this sort of aggressive versus passive angle that you can take, because UT Dallas embody that in a way. We expected them to take a fight with SCC right as the zone closed in, and yet they evac tower on over, choosing to take the more passive route, and as a result, have gotten themselves a really safe position. The next zone still ever further away, but it's St. Clair that suffers so much in the meantime, losing two for not having been able to take the early rotate, much like UT Dallas before them.
And as we know, ISU is always on the prowl. And as you can see, they've already started to take some shots now, trying to claim their ground. However, they do have to make a heavy rotation, but we've never seen them have too much of a challenge on this, as they seem to always know where to go, which has always mind boggled me in the past 24 hours, trying to figure out how they just constantly have perfected their rotational skills. But as we can see, they take their time on edge, they look for fights that they think they can push, and if they can't, they find another way.
It's another team that we've got to check in on. Speaking of teams that have really found their way, especially quite well yesterday, Bronco Esports, who in yesterday's games, in yesterday's semifinals, were very often finding themselves in the center of zone with these really mysterious rotations. It looked like they were in a bad spot. We tuned back in with them, and all of a sudden, they would be just fine. Grand Canyon actually doing a very similar thing right now with their Rampart setup, but with a team right above them, FSU Black. They're not allowed to exist peacefully.
Yes, FSU Black is going to do everything in their power to clear their sides here. Amazing Watson fences. It's looking like a Christmas store over here on this corner. And I mean, the present is definitely that Watson gen, but GCU Moonlight here, Rampart walls, they're gonna do the trick, right? They're gonna be able to continually set up shop, and SJSU just now eliminated. We're down to 14 squads.
UT Dallas still isn't in the ring, and they've got to deal with Oreo right below them, who have a fuse already. Bowser's only got one gravity lift to get them out of dodge, but the amount of damage they're putting down, maybe it doesn't matter. Gray makes this so much safer for the team. 15 seconds left to get into the zone, and right below GCU Moonlight are making this so difficult, but they get shot in the side.
I mean, Gray just did so much damage there, and he may have actually just griefed that team's game along the way, making their path to zone even clearer. We now have UHE Varsity trying to clean up the fight that they've now ensued. They have blue, blue, purple, but Neko taking absolute shots on that gravity lift, gonna go down, and Gray getting eliminated as well by Ren. I mean, this is absolute warfare.
Rain makes that possible, though, and makes this reset available for UHE Varsity. UT Dallas on the other side try and do a very similar thing, but they're going to get pushed from yet another team, another entrant into this side of zone conundrum, as OI fights for their life, takes a quick reset, shield swap apparently unavailable. Very little room to wiggle through. Last shot not connecting on the wingman onto Crazem, but with the R99, Gray makes up the difference. Crazem goes down, and UT Dallas are still in this thing.
I mean, Gray is going absolutely nuclear here. Talk about clutch shots and getting those kills. We also have the Broncos being eliminated due to Gray's clear crystal shots along the way. They're now a little pinched due to FSU Black having this height, but it is just Chris. So they're probably not going to sit there too long as they have to make a rotation as a solo. Now, we also have CSU DH now being eliminated along that path to zone as well with 5 squads left.
And of course, we jump over to ISU Farmers again, and they are three stacked
Woo!
up and ready to go. Crispy shots from Wrecked takes out another squad, saying goodbye to FSU Black, who had been whittled down to one member. But the big villain in this first game has to be the ISU Farmers, who are still looking so terrifying and are already in the Final Four alongside Kennesaw State Gold.
Yes, I'm glad you made mention of that. We have our 2 top contenders here in this final zone. And now, with the top 3 squads, those top 2 teams are still involved and intricated with ISU, KSU Gold, and one more team along the way, and that was UT Dallas. So we now have the 2 top teams of the last previous brackets going head to head to showcase who deserves to come away with the #1 spot in this first match.
Drone doesn't find anything for now, and after being destroyed, Iowa State have a lot less information to work with. Quick stall out of Conduit buys Iowa State, interestingly. Time to be the ones to reset to get their shields all topped up, but neither team really wants to take this fight. Kennesaw State Gold off the low ground doesn't have things like a horizon to gain instant verticality, and they've just got to wait for ISU to make a mistake.
Now, the utilization of that Mirage Q was really something absolutely spectacular because they just were given information, additional information that they didn't even really need, Dia. And now they're going to be able to queue up, try to avoid this conduit ult along the way, which should be going down quite shortly. And it's going to equate to these teams now intricating
Big
in each
flank.
other and fighting. And Rex getting a phenomenal angle here on the left side of Otter. But again, they can't really close the gap quite yet. I really believe that Blue's catwall here is going to come in clutch if they do have it.
And taking a look at the ring, Kennesaw don't have that much time as the next zone starts closing. Already has begun to do so, but it's ISU on high ground that have more time where they can stay still and watch what Kennesaw do. Everybody now starting to join up with Wrecked Emporium, but as you're talking about, these angles still aren't clear. Nice little bits of damage being tossed in by Blue Sky, but it's going to have to be a Catalyst wall to secure their rotate.
Yes, now in my head, they have to push a catwall northwest. That's the only way they're going to close this
Big
gap
damage.
here. Great shots with the 30-30 by Eaglesill. And I mean, they have gold shields, right? So anytime that they do take damage, it's a quick reset for them. But soon enough, with this final round closing, huge crypto ult coming down for ISU. And they're going to go in now.
Trev Michi's already on it. Blue Sky is the one to swing, lands an initial 50, but instantly goes down. Kamal gonna swing this as well, and does 180, but it's 2 for 1, and Otter can't clutch it up in time. ISU fumble in the last seconds, and give up the first win to KSU Gold.
I am absolutely speechless. I thought that Mirage ult was gonna go crazy, but unfortunately, just taking way too much entry damage there and leaving the #1 spot to KSU Gold. But ISU Farmers coming away with 11 kills in that first lobby.
It'll more than make up for the difference in otherwise placement points between them and KSU, but the very fact that these were the last 2 teams left standing, it should say a lot about how convincing their performances were yesterday, and despite the disparity in points between them, I feel like these two pretty darn even.
I mean, the way that that matchup proceeded and the way that they took their time to really engage in each other with information that they needed, the utilization of that crypto ult for that push coming up short, but still very crisp and patient. I'm looking forward to seeing more, and we'll be right back with our second match of the evening.
And we're back, and we're almost even church in game two, and that's where the action is at, especially after that banger of a first game. This will be, for the moment, our last one on World's Edge. So, before we move on over to Storm Point, let's play for Redemption.
Yes, let's have some fun. I mean, World's Edge is one of those maps where you're constantly engaged in battle, and we saw quite a bit of that along match one. But I believe members of the teams are now in ship and ready to drop in to what is match number two of the evening. Do you any teams that you want to take note of going into this next lobby?
Ooh, you know what? I actually, looking at that last game, wish that we could have seen a little bit better of a look out of FSU Black. I think it was who were up on height, who were controlling the rotation of teams like UT Dallas and that whatever was happening over on the survey camp side, and there it was actually quite close for FSU Black to have been able to control that and get a few more KP. So I am looking at them during the next couple of games, and of course UT Dallas, who really showed up in game number one, despite having a difficult rotation at the end. I think it's fair to say they really impressed me.
Yes, I mean UT Dallas came away with I believe 12 points there at the end of that match, and so you gotta take note of that. We're gonna see a lot more out of them, I believe, going forward. And of course, when we do transfer over to Storm Point, there's a lot of teams that may be completely different comp, completely different mindset in terms of rotation and setting up shop. We're gonna see a lot of new things going into the next map, but before then, we do have another map here on World's Edge. And I mean, from the first bit that we got to see, I'm incredibly excited to see what comes from this next match.
Yeah, me too. And now what we've heard is that they're spinning up a server in the background, and we're going to jump into, again, a very quick break. But when we come back, we'll be going straight into game. We'll just pop out, see what needs to be done, and get back in. And just like we promised, we are right back onto World's Edge Church. Let's get it going for game number 2. Season 2 Grand Finals, Stage 1. Already, off of our first game, KSU claimed what I'll call decisive victory, even with as drawn out as that 3v3 was.
I mean, give it to them. They did a phenomenal job, but we do now have another lobby loaded in, and these teams are not going to give up that easily going into match 2. And we have to remember that we had an aggressive fight right off the bat over at Climatizer to start off the match. Let's see if it happens the same exact way, or if these teams decide to, let's capitalize on some more ground here instead of getting intricated right away.
I mean, even looking over at Climatizer, what's funny is that not only are we not giving each other much space, but we're mostly landing in the same areas. Fortunately enough, that little distance is going to be given between the teams. One building to one building to another. But over in Countdown, we get the contest that we didn't even get to see during the last game
Ooh.
because there was so much action over at Clima.
And this is TMU Blue taking some early shots here with the G7 Scout. Got it 3 times right off the drop. And SCC is going to be in a tough position here. However, there's so much room to utilize. However, Afro does have a longbow with that 4x8. And I'm a big fan of the longbow, I cannot lie. With them having a couple of advantages here with the long range and Dot coming in heavy with the massive, they might get a little aggressive here, taking some different angles.
I like that, at least at this point, Pyro is starting to move on up. Take as much space as you can in Countdown, especially because if you manage to force another team out of here, there's really nowhere to go. South of Countdown is nothing but the butt of Lava Fisher and the start of Landslide, which is barely a POI anyway. So if you're able to win over at Countdown and take enough space, you're going to be doing just fine compared to the competition. Over here, UA Sorority Row, actually still pretty stable in their own, what we'll call, extended 3v3, but I'm not even sure this fight is happening at this point.
Now, it seems like there may be a little bit of a lag here, so teams might not actually get involved too early, as I believe everybody just wants to make it through what they're enduring. However, we do have UNCW Ocean running into a squad during their rotation. It looks like they're going to have to fight. Percy getting knocked here by what looks like Banana with a G7, and Neko taking out Slasher. It's going to be all up to just Cones.
I'm not sure what Cone Snail was experiencing there either, but definitely not on the same page as the rest of the team. Now cornered, afraid, in the lava. Banana, despite going down to very low HP, will be the one to help eliminate this very first squad that we see go out. So unfortunate, of course, as a quick rotation through Harvester. It can be very unforgiving, but on the other side of that, for UHE Varsity, they're going to be feeling pretty good about it. 3 points in, and the first ring hasn't even started closing yet.
Now, Tamu Maroon looking absolutely great here with double blue and gold yet again. But this time, instead of Conduit taking the gold, it's going to be Axie. And we do have San Jose looking very sturdy, Dio, with double perp blue. They have capitalized on Lava Siphon loot, and they have now located that team that we were just mentioning over along the way. Now it's up to them if they would like to intricate or if they'd like to take their time and continue their loot pool here.
It's always quite funny seeing a team that I am vaguely familiar with, not because I knew about their Apex Legends team so much before Collegiate kicked off, but mostly just because it's from where I grew up, San Jose State. And so as soon as I see their team name, I'm like, ooh, oh my god, it's a team from home. we have nothing in common, but that we lived in more or less the same place. But I'm very excited about it. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Some like ape brain part of me is like, ooh.
Listen, hardly home but always repping, as they say.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're alive so far. Hopefully the next time we talk about them, we'll get to see them popping off in some sort of hometown pride way, at least for me. However, UT San Antonio Orange are also making their rotation through Monument, and we're straight through the center of it, which normally you can't do, especially once we get later into the game and there's a lot of crowding here, but with as early as it is and with the shots that Juice is hitting, I think you can do just about anything.
Listen, Juice has got the juice on that 30-30. If he had a Scully, he may have had a knock there, but they're going to be able to move in all willy-nilly because they were able to get that entry damage and utilize that as cover. because nobody's really going to re-peak a 30-30 if they connected like that on their first shot.
Even right now, I mean, there's been a big abandonment of the roof. It doesn't look like CSUDH Ruby want to even peek these sight lines. Perhaps not having a whole lot of loot to work with, a lot of heals for the later game, but maybe just not wanting to deal with 30-30s, which honestly, totally fair in this day and in this economy. I don't want to be dealing with 30-30s either.
We do have Viking here getting cracked, and it's going to be Tamu running into San Jose and looking to just full send into this, as they do have the knowledge that they were able to crack the Valk, and now getting some heavy damage. Actually, with the conduit boost on those gold shields, it does heal a little bit quicker. Trying
Oh
to get
my
this
God.
kill, but that pylon is doing so much work for them. Axie going down due to it. Taunty putting in work. The conduit ult is going to come down at the door, which does enable 7 different pylons across in a V shape, the way they utilize it here. But Wash getting a completely different angle with this wingman, putting in the work.
Literally like one headshot, just the juicy headshot to come through there, and it would have been a squad wipe, but as it is, Tamu back off, and SJS, you will be able to finish off the kills that they, or rather the knock that they secured earlier. Actually not going to be back into the game for a while, but importantly, with Pear being one of our players to be running Conduit today, there is always the opportunity that with good access to a crafter and perhaps a Moby, that Tamu can be whole again.
Yes, and they will be able to reset eventually, hopefully. But we do have to take note of the fact that Tamu did just secure gold shields. Or rather, San Jose just secured gold shields off of Axie's body. So they're now going to be double purple gold, Dia, and looking very healthy going in to Zone 3.
It's a great place to be, especially when compared to the other teams around them. One of the, I think, underspoken about things when we jump onto World's Edge is the fact that the loot at many of these POIs is just simply not comparable when you are on Stormpoint. Stormpoint POIs tend to have better loot, and as a result, teams like Fanshawe Fuel that are already running around as a duo are going to have no shields to work with. And St. Clair, it's a miracle that they're able to pick up the purples that they have so far. A big part of it having to do with the early fighting, the early bits of damage that they've thrown into other teams, much like UA Sorority.
Now, I just want to point out the kill feed here that I have definitely taken notice of. ISU Otter has been connecting those longbow shots. He's now taken out 2. And, I mean, when you're coming into Zone 3, you have so much room to move. They always play this late rotation type gameplay. They were able to capitalize in getting those full kills to now secure early KP along their way. And Pear looking alone now.
Yeah, not a great start to Game 2 for Tamu. But at least still having one up. Hope is ever present. The zone, however, has definitely started to dictate this game. First ring, normally you can wiggle around with. You've got plenty of time. It's quite wide. Second ring, as it's already starting to close in soon, is drawing us ever further towards the north side of the map. St. Clair are making their way there, playing edge on their way in, like many teams that will have approached from the south.
Now, I will take note that a lot of these teams are playing a little bit differently than they did the first round, and it's a little bit more aggressive here, Dia, where we're seeing a lot more activity in the kill feed earlier on, now down to 18 squads, and St. Clair making their movement up through frag, utilizing the buildings as cover, dipping and dodging. A lot of these teams also have long-range weapons now. Many members carrying, whether it be a 30-30 longbow or G7 scout along the way, to be able to get that insight information from deep while also connecting some very clear shots. We do have a Bangalore ulti coming down now at Epicenter, and UT Dallas looking to capitalize on a kill here. Bowser getting absolutely shredded, but Nitfen also trading that damage, and it looks like it's an even battle.
Yeah, UT Dallas, at least by double swinging and now by throwing up a catalyst wall of their own, have managed to secure the central bit of this POI to themselves. Gray gonna jump on over with Bowser, see what they can get done in terms of the damage, actually pushing off a whole other team off of height. Gray loses all of their shields to a nicely placed Skynade, but UT Dallas have already got what they came for, and they're in no danger now.
UT Dallas just did a phenomenal job of clearing everything that was in their way. Already healthy yet again with triple perp, and they're now going to be able to hold that edge of Epi so easily because of that team now dropping down low. We do have UHE varsity now holding the outskirts of Overlook, holding those small buildings and utilizing the rock for not only clearance from damage, but insight on Krazum and company over there at the small building.
Be a nice place to play for later. Pushing back up to the top, it's TMU Bold trying to take on UT Dallas. This is literally and figuratively an uphill battle, but with Gray having gone down first, maybe there's a chance. It looks like the push is working. TMU are getting shot in the back, though, and it may not go well for them.
Whew.
UT Dallas, they're gone, but it's barely.
TMU Bold putting the work in there. They're now going to get that insight from the Bloodhound scan, get reset, heal up, but little do they know, we do have SCC approaching them so steadily, and they do have a Horizon with the ability to queue up.
At the moment, FSU Black sat dead center of zone. One of our teams that we'd expected to see a little bit more from moving into game 2. Had a great start in round 1, but couldn't quite hold their positioning together. This time have a much easier spot to play in many ways, and in some ways, I think we can both agree, this can also be a little bit more challenging. It's a lot less about controlling the area around you, but at the same time, if other teams aren't doing their part, nobody's going to be punished for walking up to this RV and shucking bullets and nades into it.
Yes, now, typically I don't agree with the early cart play. However, in this zone, because it's so open and there isn't much to capitalize on, they may actually come away with picking off a couple of kills along those rotations if they start to see some damage coming from different angles. And Chris did have a Kraber, Dia, so I'm looking to see some clear shots coming.
UTSA Orange holding the bridge, another prime position, and one where they can share space with FSU Black and, in a way, collaborate on taking down the teams around them. They can't let FSU Black take up too much space, though, and I like the destruction of these fences, keeping the team in the cart honest. The biggest problem for UT San Antonio has to be any squads that roll up behind them. It's a good idea to keep your eyes on Epicenter.
Now, they're going to have a difficult time holding that bridge ultimately, but we do have Fansoft Fuel fighting for their lives outside the edge of Frag now and trying so valiantly to stay alive, but SCC putting in the work. Pander getting the full kill on Rusty, and that's going to be GCU Oreo getting some kills there. Fanshawe eliminated, and KSU Gold eliminated very early, Dia. Very early.
Big problem for them, but maybe the last game will help them out a little bit. Down on the southern end of this ring, TAMU Maroon have made their return. From down to 1, they've managed to get all 3 members crafted and back into the game. This journey, literally uphill, may still take them down, especially with Fiddle Dude falling now.
Yes, them losing another member again. Unfortunate. However, they may have time to recover if they are able to clear their side here. Axie putting in some work, still has a gold shield somehow, some way. Fiddle does get res and gets the kill. They're going to have to heal up here playing such small space. CSU eliminated there in that sequence. TAMU now out in the open with that catwall going down. We also have GCU Oreo going out. We're down to the top 13.
Conduit Tactical being back up saves TAMU for the moment, and we jump over to the ridge line that's going to determine quite a bit. SCC and TMU Bold fighting for control of height as TMU Bold start putting a little bit of damage down, a few tickles into TAMU.
Yes, TMU Bold having a great strategy here of spreading out their resources, right? Frab now taking a east side angle to find out more information about their rotation on that side, while also the teammates covering that height to not give up their high ground. We do have ISU now, the farmers with a gold longbow, and we saw Otter connecting with these shots earlier, and he's definitely going to try to capitalize on this again, but they have so much space that they have to try to take hold of. They're going to try and take this needle now, but Dia, I don't know if this is the right play with teams everywhere on their sides.
Definitely makes them a bit of a sitting duck. Not a whole lot of ways to fend off nades. But the fact that they've taken the sniper tower now also gives them the chance to collect so much more KP. KP, like Tamu is collecting as they move up.
Tano looking very good here. Again, this is a recovery story, right? They're fighting valiantly along every single cross that they have made. Fiddle does have Bangle. They're probably going to save this until they absolutely have to use it, but they do have ISU looking at them from height, and they're going to have to try and clear this with Otter just letting longbow shots go with this Digi.
Neither team in position for the next ring. ISU, as you talked about with the sniper tower take, arguably in a very vulnerable position. A lot of people are looking up at ISU, and there's no clean way for their composition to rotate out with Mirage, Crypto, Horizon. Nobody can provide visual cover like a Bangalore or a Catalyst can.
Yes, but SCC taking some good space here in this end zone, finding a nice, comfy, cozy nook to have a bit of an advantage here, kind of sit tight, let things proceed the way they do naturally, and stay clear of damage while they sit back and wait for zone to close in the next 15 seconds.
Wow. A lot of work being done by FSU Black. They are not giving an inch, and they are constantly picking these positions that are dead center of zone, moving to them early and taking the risk. Nobody else seems ready to push up on them, playing a little bit more conservatively in a way, especially as we approach the end game of round number 2 in the grand finals. Some quick looting being done by Bronco Esports should put them in a better position as we approach the last couple of rings, but as of right now, they've still got plenty of physical distance to make up to actually put them in one of the last zones.
Yes, now Broncos doing a great job of surviving here in comparison to their last match, but there are just so many fights going on now, Dia. We have Tamu White in the fight of their lives, going down to just one with Swifty here, trying to clutch up with this car, putting out some good damage, going to take out the Rampart ult, but it's not quick enough, and they are going to be eliminated, and that is ISU cleaning that up.
Tamu start to swing over. They do lose Axe on the way. On the other side, Bronco Esports start to move in. Cal Poly take to the skies over the previous position of FSU. Notice they have height available, and the health bars up here are so darn low. Kamal, but a sliver away from death as the Nemesis does not connect on the way down. A quick car reload may finish off another kill, but more importantly, the Broncos now hold high ground. Way more important than a single kill point.
The Broncos making that call just absolutely exquisite. They did a great job of clearing that. Kamal does get away and gets a purple, finds some health there, but they're going to have to play this slow as they are the only member left of their team. And Krazim putting shots into pair, getting a knock there. They do have the understanding that Kamal is sitting behind that bin. They're going to do their best to clear it, get some information, but Kamal does avoid that arc star. So they now are unsure if that player's still there, but they have ultimate height. They have the time, Dia, to sit here and observe, let chaos ensue, and decide ultimately when they want to get involved.
They can't afford to put too much focus towards Kamal, though. That's something that other teams can do for them. SCC certainly know that there is a rat off to the north side of the ring. Wow, somehow ISU still in this as well. Kamal, as we talked about, that final rat. And there's a lot of focus towards them right now. How long can this really last?
Kamal doing everything they can to stay alive. However, with the angles from multiple teams now coming down, it seems like their life is going to be cut short quite a bit and the next zone closing. However, we do now have SCC queuing up to that opposing height now of Bronco Esports. They're going to have to drop back down as there's not as much space as they thought they could hold. And ISU Farmers is eliminated in that sequence. They're down to the top 3 squads.
95% on SCC's Bangled. A chance to clear the high ground and get themselves a clean rotation. The Broncos are trying to hold high ground, but how long can that really continue if a Bangle comes in?
Now the Bangle was just released, but they did also drop a nice grenade along the way. Fiddle Dude trying to get in, but just cannot seek victory there. SCC looking to now approach Broncos after their bangle. However, they were able to utilize that Horizon Q drop ulti, and we're now down to our final match.
The Broncos are doing well so far, losing Krazum. Aqua and Blah still in this as they swift through the Catalyst wall. It's just Aqua in this final 1v1, or at least it appears so, but with so little HP to work with, they won't be able to clutch it. And from the bottom, SCC come up and take the win in game 2.
Now, SCC cleared so many teams along that path. They are absolutely coming away with some heavy KP. And as I mentioned, they come away with 10 kills, the largest amount of kills out of the lobby there. And they're going to be looking at some healthy boosts to their standings in this leaderboard. And going into match point, with that activating after match 6, Dia, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, what a fantastic way for them to finish that as well, because last game was all about the power positions, all about who was, as we talked about, on height, large and in charge, killing a bunch of squads. SCC didn't really play that game. They played their own, picking mid positions, honestly. Ones that didn't give them that much influence, but that were a lot safer, and worked out well for them in game 2. As we talked about, though, that one was our last of 2, we'll be coming back to it later, this is a better way to say that, I'm sure, games on World's Edge. We are going to be jumping to Storm Point now, where things will change. Positions will change, rotates will change, drop spots, and hopefully the standings, as we'll take a look at those when we get back from a short break. Welcome back, everyone. We have just finished the first two games, and that means that we're 1/3 of the way to unlocking Match Point Church. With KSU picking up the first win, and most recently, St. Clair picking up the second, it's time we change maps.
Going over to Storm Point, it's definitely going to get a little bit more finicky as teams have to figure out their rotational advantages and disadvantages throughout this next map. However, Dia, this leaderboard is looking quite juicy. And as I mentioned earlier, SCC picked up a healthy full bit of kills along their way to fame on that #1 spot. And that's put them pretty far up.
That they did. I like that you talk about the amount of kills they got as well, because at the start of the day, I expected today to play out a lot like yesterday, where the semifinals were largely dominated by teams that wanted to play zone and were getting there quickly. And today has not so much been like that. We'll see what happens on Storm Point, but somehow I imagine those teams that are starting to move in from the corners of the map, that are picking up more KP to go along with their wins, seem to be having that much more of an edge in today's games.
Yes, and now we're here on Storm Point, and we're going to be seeing if there are any contests along the way. If I recall correctly, I believe we had a contest over at, I think it was Checkpoint yesterday, but it looks like Cedo is getting quite active, Dia.
Yeah, not a bad place to start. Especially with the amount of loot and the fact that there's a crafter here as well to start the day off. Fanshawe Fuel already seem to have control over quite a bit. Triple Take, not a bad weapon to start with off drop either. Mozambique perhaps leaving a little bit to be desired for some people, but for gentlemen of taste, Mozambique will do just fine.
Now, Fanshawe does have the advantage on shields with Bob having purple here and SCC holding height, but with triple whites. So if they get any information or they get a crack here, it might be enough for entry for them to start rotating into this fight and try to look at height. They do have a horizon. They have the ability to queue up the sides. There are zip lines on the sides and the outskirts of the building as well. So they have multiple angles to take. However, that is going to be Potato going down. Does SCC capitalize on that knock?
Looks like they're going to. Quick drop down and a finish gives them a lot more, not only effective HP, but effective damage when compared to the competition they now face. The Fanshawe Fuel not wanting to give this up, but at the same time, not wanting to take it 2 versus 3, no matter what their shield situation may be. Before this fight even concludes, we lose a team, by the way. TMU Blue are out.
Oh, wow. That is very surprising. Out of TMU Blue, unfortunately not having the exact day that they had hoped so far. However, we do have a good bit of matches left. And now it seems that there's another team joining into the battle here over at Cedo, taking some shots from the waterfall there.
Fanshawe Fuel going to instantly disengage that, because as a duo, you don't want to be sticking around when the third parties start rolling up. Honestly, I doubt that SCC want to be here either, but the ring is drawing everyone straight to Cedo.
This is going to get quite hectic for SCC, as they more than likely wanted to stick around and craft, but they're not going to be left alone long enough to even bother. With UHC Varsity, which we know are chock full of shooters, are going to try and capitalize, as Chubb there is down to very low health, and Ramen getting cracked now by Neko as well. And UHC, they get hungry, and they eat their food mighty fast. They might try to push up on this one.
That they do. It's that ever-present decision. Do you secure your position in Cedo, or do you go for a bit more? As of right now, Grand Canyon Moonlight try and go for just a reasonable amount. They're not even getting greedy. Just trying to make their way down to Cedo. And even then, they are risking death. The same thing can be said of Tamu White, who, playing around the gravity cannon right now, just don't have a whole lot of time or health to work with.
Now, Tamu White does not have the information that we have, and my God, Lil Baka taking a great shot with the 4x8 Sentinel, getting the knock on Ty there. But what Tamu White does not know is that SCC is in that building. They were trying to get across trying to find safety, and unfortunately, Tamu White does get eliminated by not only SCC, but also Ty, or Lil Baka, rather.
This, I always happy to hear a little bit more Little Baka in our games. UHE, as you talked about, though, bloodthirsty as ever, do push up. Chubb's going to manage to escape from SCC, but that's only a temporary status as these zone rotations are so fast this time in Stormpoint that it feels like we've totally reversed the script from World's Edge. Everybody wants to get to Cedo as quickly as possible, and it leaves Chubb with nowhere to go.
And Chubb is still alive. I mean, look at that. Just at the bare bit of health, looking to try to recover here. And we do have KSU Gold setting up shop now on this ledge just outside of Cedo and No Name. And I've seen this play so many times. And having a Watson to capitalize on this space is absolutely essential. This team composition is going to help them in the long run in this space.
It does kind of hurt, however, to see that Aegis only has about 60 heavy ammo for the flatline. Normally, ammo is not something worth talking about, but in the specific spot that Kennesaw are in, without a Loba, without any way to get ammunition back, and importantly, without a whole lot of range, that may very much impact their ability to control space as the game goes on, especially when their position is expected to age really well. Kennesaw are going to have to fight off a lot of opponents that want to encroach on their high ground territory.
Now, TMU Bold trying to rotate past Mills without any zone information. They're going to hop in the car and try to mitigate this damage by rotating on the long side, going west. However, they are going to take a little bit along the way. And right then and there, UCSC eliminated as well as we move into this round one closing. But UT San Antonio, they have the information, they know where they need to go, and it looks like they're going to play this out a little bit slower, but if they hear the commotion that is going across the ocean of UHC pushing in, they might just join the party, Dia.
We talked about this happening, but KSU not able to hold on to their high ground as effectively as they thought, did not control all sides of the ridge, and UHE on their, what we'll call, rampage so far, take the lives of at least one of their members. Now looking down at misplays and wrecked, both still very vulnerable down here. Would not be surprised to see Rain slide all the way down on this.
UHE, as we mentioned before, does not let things build. They close the gate anytime the door is opened, and I would be very surprised to see if KSU Gold is able to recover from this the way that they'd hope. They do have conduit, so if they are able to get to a crafter, they can craft the banner and reset. But in a zone like this, and the way that teams are enclosing on these gaps, I just don't foresee it happening. We now have Fiddle Dude outputting a ton of damage with that car, leaving Val absolutely one, getting the knock with that gas, and Tamu looking really good with triple perps here.
Yeah, and this fight worked really, really well for them. Obviously, I mean, they ended up with 3 KP, but you've got to appreciate the way that Tamu approached this as well. Fiddle Dude so often finding the entries, but especially today, Axie.
Yeah!
Wow!
Oh my god!
Sorry, Otter. I had to acknowledge Otter there. I'm going to finish what I was saying about Axie. Especially today, Axie has been really good on the cleanup.
Otter is hitting their shots today, and that is all I have to say about that. Picking up a Kraber after coming from a game with the longbow. I knew it was coming, Dia. I'm sorry I couldn't contain myself.
No,
it was electric.
Please, like, shots like that change games, and I mean, for ISU, they change them for the better. Not really that they needed it. ISU have been doing just fine without finding Kraber headshots in round 1, but they'll take what they can get. Now, TMU Bold, ever living up to it, do push in over towards Mill, find a nice initial knock, albeit trading one out with Juice on the backside. Nitfen has to put on the fancy feet, almost finds the trade back onto Juice, but needs to reload and can't do it in time, leaving Imakari on the outside and unable to recover their fallen teammates, with more teams starting to pay attention as well. Nevon is going to be able to finish off a kill, resetting UT San Antonio Orange, and hopefully giving them a foothold in the next fight, because Calyx is still down.
Now, I don't know if UTSA is able to actually get a reset here because another team decided to join the party. And I do have to commend Juice for the movement because that was the only way that they actually stayed alive was they hit the wall bounce, Dia. And the shot just missed as they were one health there in that 2v2 into 2v1 scenario. We do have ISU now going up to height, taking
Up
some
against
good
UT
shots.
Dallas.
Trev with the Mirage ult, trying to utilize that to gain some more space. Do they drop down or do they control this height now? And we do have Otter on Crypto. They're going to get the information to decide what their next play is.
EMP.
And they also have ulti. They're going to drop it. And Dia, I think that ISU now goes to clean this one up.
I'd expect they do. They at least get to take a more forward position, nading out the bottom floor. Catalyst Wall actually making for a pretty good escape as ISU continue to lay the pressure in, and UT Dallas are not going to give up without a fight. Playing the opposite side of Catalyst Wall, Trev Michi throws out a decoy, isn't able to make it back and may have committed a bit too far. UT Dallas now swing his teammates on the top side, reclaiming high ground for themselves.
UT Dallas playing this so smooth, calm, and collected, utilizing the Horizon Q to reclaim their spot at height, and almost, some may say, bamboozle the very own Mirage over at ISU Farmers. And in that sequence, we do lose our top contender, SCC, early on in round 2. That's going to change the leaderboard, Dia.
That it certainly is. UT Dallas hunkering down for a moment with TMU Bold still just below them. It looks like ISU were not so lucky as to escape with everyone intact, but Otter, perhaps making for an easier recovery than most, unfortunately went down at the very top of these rocks. But Iowa State can try and grab this back, especially with the next zone close being pretty darn soon. UT Dallas can't hang on to this rock forever.
Now, if I had to take a guess, I believe that ISU is going to try and grab that banner utilizing that Mirage Q. Very risky play, but the Farmers are known to do way more. And Trev putting out some work there with the R9. OI holding down the fort, though, causing Mirage to drop. And UT Dallas giving a little bit of a run for their money here, taking some heavy damage, but staying alive.
This evac tower is really dangerous as well. Fortunately, UT Dallas have managed to switch off and heal, so they're not in as much danger as they might otherwise be, but down on the floor, the ISU Farmers really almost 2v3 UT Dallas. That's the mechanical prowess that this squad has given us so far. Remember, we still got a rat hanging out by the ISU Farmers. Imakari about to be found out. UT Dallas has slid right by them. He may get involved now. Kamal takes to the skies. Bowser goes down. Trev Michi assisting with that knock from behind. As the battery goes off for Kamal, Iowa State are changing this fight.
Oh, Iowa State trying so valiantly to close the gap here, get these kills. I believe it's a 1v1 now for Trev, but it's just going to come up so short, unfortunately, for ISU. UT Dallas fighting for their namesake and cleaning it up, but Imakari was still alive that whole time. And unfortunately, UTSA does take them out, which now means that UTSA knows what's going on over here and looking around, taking some shots.
I'll be honest, this res may not come to much, as already snipes from afar have been coming in, as you mentioned. UT Dallas start to make their rotation in. Fanshawe Fuel going to mirror this on the other side of the map, moving up to the ridge line that has so much say over this ring.
Now, Fanshawe Fuel being a duo, they have to play this a little bit more callously. They have to take their time on these calls, decide what's the right move for them ultimately. I think they're doing a great job by mirroring teams to make those decisions. They're going to get zone information from other teams' rotations. It's just now about hiding in plain sight. As we can see, Piercy seeing Axie behind that tree, taking note of it, but they've got a lot of ground to hold now with zone closing on them in this building. And it looks like Fiddle and company are taking multiple angles on this team.
That's the craziest thing. Axie, Fiddle, and Pear control the entire ridgeline, and we didn't even see them truly fight for it. Everyone else has given things up as the zone pulls us deep into Millage. What will Tamu do when they are forced to come down from on high? UT Dallas surely going to be in their sights as Fiddledude is already almost taken down Gray. Why? Healing up behind the supply crate does give them a decent bit of cover. But UT Dallas, even if they're not the focus of this game, can expect to be one of the next few teams eliminated.
Now, Tamu Maroon definitely moving up here, slow and steady, but taking some people down along the way. And Fiddle Dude laying out some great shots at this 30-30. They do have a purple max. They're able to take a couple of shots at a time. And we do see Krazim taking some shots and knocking May Candy in the process in the kill feed. Fiddle fighting valiantly to stay alive, using that double time, able to find a quiet nook with the cover fire of Axie from over above. And they're looking to finish this fight over here in the corner. They notice that they do get the kill. And Axie now the kill leader for this lobby, sitting on top of Ridge.
Big nade from Rusty G as well. Just takes out UT Dallas. Nobody's got to worry about them anymore, especially Fanshawe, who as a duo really didn't want to have to deal with getting next door neighbors on top of everything else. They've still arguably got a pretty safe place in ring, but plenty more squads still have to pile in. 8 teams remain, and Fanshawe, you will only have 2 members with which to claim some small solace.
Now, GCU Oreo in an interesting spot here because they can either decide to get intricated into this fight over on the west side, or the east side rather, or they can utilize the Ocean, the Armory, and rotate almost for free on the west side. So it's going to be dependent on if they want to gain KP, and it looks like they're going to look for it as they notice Misplace out in the open, getting a couple of good shots. This is KSU Gold, though, and we do know them to take a fight and try to close it up. We do have UTSA, Navon, getting a knock on Rusty, who's getting a knock on Aqua now.
Oh,
and
no.
We do have the Broncos fighting really hard to stay up.
The Broncos having suffered a loss is big as they're the team gatekeeping KSU. Aqua drops again, and this time it's not going to be recoverable. The Broncos have to disengage, and because of that, in come KSU. They have a foothold in this zone and can continue pushing up closer to the Armory that this zone now appears to be ending near.
I mean, we talked about it earlier. If they made that rotation, they may have been able to solidify more placement, but again, the armories are now broken. There's not as much cover as there used to be, so it's a lot of angles to hold, and holding it early can be tough. But that team inside now utilizing what they can and absolutely holding down the fort for final zone. We do have UNCW Ocean now pushing into this building just on the outskirts of zone, trying to get some knocks. They do have a Bloodhound scan, and it looks like they're going to push in very aggressively with this RE45 juiced all the way up.
Feels good to be Bloodhound. Even without a Digi, can really make the 45 work, especially at these ranges. Pair, fortunately enough, having a Digi of their own, is able to support with some immaculately timed Catalyst tacticals. But Tamu, a nice move, end up taking the roof instead, not wanting to pursue a fight that was going nowhere. They get followed up on from behind and now have to fight for the roof. There's no cover for them, and Axie gets sniped from afar. Artlov Neko takes him down. Tamu, we're on the ropes.
Tamu had a phenomenal idea there, but unfortunately they were followed. They were chased. Neko does get a knock on Axie, and Pear and Fiddle are now yet again trying to reset, and UNCW Ocean are going to stay underneath, utilize that zone as their late rotation. We do have UHE Varsity playing this broken building, holding down the outskirts of zone with decent cover. KSU Gold trying to find a spot to play with all their hearts, laying down that pylon in hopes that it stays, but it's already gone, Dia. It's already gone.
It feels bad to see the Watson pylon go down there because, you know, this is not a position that you can play in the long run. Kennesaw do lose one, but still have a foot in this game, swinging right into more damage. However, they lose another, and Kennesaw are down, leaving UT San Antonio, who have been the snipers at the dead center of this zone for so long, as one of our last teams with real safe space left to play. They look over at, I believe it's Hawaii that still hold this building, and UNC right below them.
Yes, UNCW Ocean going to try to take out UHC in the process, but they're going to be down to just Cone Snail. And Cone Snail's going to have to play this a little bit more cautiously as UHC is chock full of loot. I mean, look at the bodies. They hit the floor, Dia.
Could not ask for anything else, and everybody's geared up for the close range fights. Even Navon over here with UT San Antonio needing to make their push forward. Very little cover to play. Bangalore Smoke's going to be very valuable in this final zone, and maybe a little bit of rock cover as in comes a respawn beacon. Are Tamu going to get Axie back in the game?
Tamu Maroon with the craziest reset I have
They got it.
seen. I love this so much because guess what, Dia? They're coming back with all their stuff.
They just never die. Tamu refused to bite the bullet, but UAG don't have that problem. They take a swing off a catalyst wall to try and push UTSA back into the armory, and it works. They take more space, they do it faster, but they've cut themselves off from Tamu, who now get the chance to take a wide swing through the north side of this ring. UAG may have just doomed themselves with this catwall.
UHC may have just given Tamu the win, Dia. They got a
Wall's
reset,
dropping.
a full reset. Guns, shields, and Banana taking great shots. Now the wall's gone. They're going to take shots from every angle, putting out some good output, but not coming up clutch. We do have Fiddle Dude putting out some good shots with the
Tamu has it.
R9. Tamu looking the closest out after respawning Axie, and I think they're about to do just that, and they did it. Talk about a comeback story for Tamu Maroon. My God.
There are so many expletives that we do not say on broadcast, and all of them came out of my mouth in that final push. Tamu Maroon, able to come back from being down a person and really capitalizing on just momentary dips in judgment on the inability to close out from the two teams around them. Really important to note that teams like UHE and UTSA even chose to take the fight with each other rather than capitalize on the duo that they knew was getting a respawn, probably in big part due to the respawn changes, Church.
That is just... So, as you said, there were so many words that could have left my mouth, and instead I decided to lose my pen. My pen is lost. It's gone. I was slamming it on the table, just holding in that excitement, Dia. But I do believe in agreement that UHE more than likely tried to push in to force that fight rather than go into the respawn, because anything can happen now with those respawn changes. They come back with full health. Axie had gold shields when they died. So they came back with gold shields, a 30-30, and an R9 with teammates that also had Digi. We talked about this yesterday, but there are more Digis on the ground now, included also in the care package. So Bank Smoke only goes so far, especially when we get down to later end zones. And so they already had two. And then you're talking about a Bloodhound who scans for it. They had that in the bag once UHC decided to push. And congratulations to them, because that was one heck of a fight.
Yeah, that was a really fun end game to watch play out. I like that we're on Storm Point, and even better, we've got another game on it when we get back from a short break and hopefully a recovery of our pens. Welcome back to Octane Collegiate, everyone, where we are deep into the Match Point Grand Finals. I'm Dia, and I'm joined by Church. And Church, we've got a quick update for the audience. At the start of the day, we mentioned that it would be 6 games to unlock Match Point, but that's changed since in Octane Collegiate. Now, we'll be only taking 4 games to unlock Match Point. Now, granted, we're about to enter the 4th game, and I want to take a look at the standings so that we understand, as a group, that, at least for the purpose of this game, doesn't really mean anything. However, it'll mean something maybe next game, if ISU or St. Clair pass 50 points.
Yeah, so the closest teams that we have to match point would be our top 4 squads breaking 30 points. However, they do need to secure 50, and then additionally, they have to win the following match thereafter. So the closest teams really are our top 4. However, Iowa State, as we know, with this information that they have, if they know the leaderboard, they know they can close the gap with a banger game. And being back on Storm Point, we do have some teams to take mention of, like Tamu Maroon, that just came off of a rocker of a recovery. And Dia, I mean, these teams are gunning for the number 1 spot here. We still have at least 2 matches to go with this match point format. But who do you think is going to close the gap the quickest here?
Ooh, that's tough. Closing the gap to 50 points, I gotta say that ISU have not ceased to impress me, and they are the team that I expect to get there first. I don't know if they'll close it out immediately, though, because despite how well they're doing, ISU, as compared to, say, Tamu today, have yet to win a game. And that is going to need to change if they want to close things out and really end the day our victors. We do drop into Storm Point one more time before we swap back to World's Edge. And we've already got a few contests going on around the map, but most of them have been pretty quiet as no knocks have come through just yet. UA Sorority Row are on the receiving end of the first few bullets.
Yes, UA Sorority Row getting a couple of good shots here, but TMU Blue with the entry damage to start this contest off, and it looks like they're gonna start making their way. However, there are some things in their way along the route, and Dot gonna go down there. However, they do have their third dropping down on the side, moving in, but there's a conduit queue involved, and it looks like it's now going to be a 2v1 here for Afro.
I love getting Peacekeeper from 2 sides.
Talk about a sandwich.
Rough. Yeah, that was not peaceful in any way. UA Sorority Row, pretty happy with how that ended up, as now they'll get the chance to reset. FSU started crafting up, and the Cedo Station contest is now where we get to move over to, as SJSU make their move in to a knock that they'd already secured, taking the first bite out of SCC.
Yes, now Tonti does grab a blue shield. However, they are absolutely 1 HP in technicality. Gonna take a different angle here potentially, or utilize this rather as bait. But San Jose loses Washed here, and he's not gonna let that happen. Q takes a zip and goes right into battle. They get the reset here at Cedo.
Mercy is not part of Tonti's vocabulary. The R99 with 0 attachments still managed to put in a lot of work. ISU, but not feeling particularly merciful either, have already started to push up and pick a fight. Let me remind everyone as well, this team is running Crypto Mirage and still doing this.
We talk about team composition a lot here, and the thing about ISU is that they make it a non-issue. They have utilized all of these characters so effortlessly well, and Mirage itself is just such a bold statement, but they make it work.
It is interesting to note that, I mean, granted, because Mirage is a support legend, that a lot of our top teams are running support legends, and it's something that we've seen people swap in and out of throughout the course of the tournament, some choosing to run it, some perhaps not favoring it nearly so much, but the ability to craft your teammates up, get them back into the game, just so valuable, especially in high variance games like this. Kennesaw State Gold do find our other big team, as it was the KSU versus ISU matchup to start off the day, with both of them grabbing first yesterday. They almost find the knock, but importantly not having done it, now with the raise of this sniper tower, I'd be surprised if Kennesaw even get to use the crafter.
Yeah, it looks like KSU's more than likely going to back off of this a little bit now that ISU has given them the vantageous point of that sniper tower. They were also given some information from that Mirage queue where Trev was able to identify where they were shooting from precisely. And it looks like ISU's not going to let this happen. They may push up a little bit here to get some more out of that fight. But we're now over at
Let's reposition there.
Tango near me. Tango spotted. Danger close. Let's center ourselves here. Spotted an enemy. There's a wee numpty. Spotted a wee hooligan.
Spotted what we science folk call a baddie. Whoopsie. Let's head in that direction. Spotted a bampa over there. Tango spotted. Target over there.
Also, my marker.
Follow me! Enemies!
Face the void here.
Let's check out that area. Enemy spotted.
Near me. Watch out, darling.
Enemy close.
Danger
Body.
close.
Fancy a wee stroll this way?
Perhaps we shift our orbit this way.
Fancy a wee stroll this way?
Target over there.
We've got a bad guy close.
Quick, come here. Right here.
Maybe I can sneak a peek at their gear.
Saw someone out there. Stay focused. Saw someone out there. Stay focused.
Don't go down, Orphan. Watch out. Body nearby.
Reckon we should head here.
Alright. You need a charm bag and a sense of self-preservation.
That way. Come on. That way.
Let's shift our orbits that way.
Got your back.
Yeah, replicator there.
Numpty spotted. Enemy there.
D.
All ours. Let's
Rethinking
explore
our
over there.
strategy. How about moving there? Perhaps we shift our orbit this way.
Let's go there. The enemy's there.
Evo shield here. Level 2.
Follow me.
Let's go there.
Arrival here.
Hostile spotted.
Contact. Enemy close.
Level 3.
Follow me. Let's go there.
Opponent there. Forget that. Opponent, far.
An opponent. They're far away. Evo shield here. Level 3.
Look, an evac tower was opened there.
Target spotted.
Enemy
Company people.
Contact.
Might be something good this way. Let's explore over there.
An opponent.
company out there.
They're far away. I've spotted an enemy. They're far. Rival there. Aye. Enemy there. Enemy. Good. There.
Stay here. Get out of here. Right here. Let's go this way. Evo shield here.
Level 2.
Hostile. Danger close.
Making contact.
Enemy over there. Hostile
Enemy
over
there. Let's check out that area. There's an enemy out there.
Hostile spotted. Hostile spotted.
Close door here.
Move here. Let's go that way.
Back over there. One of them right here.
On your feet, darling. Plenty of fight left in you.
Phoenix kit here. Enemy spotted. Over there. The enemy's on me. Watch out. Enemies here.
Enemy close. Quick,
Go here. You'll be alright. I gotcha.
enemy nearby.
Get there.
Let's check out that area.
Numpty spotted.
Focus on my crosshairs.
Enemy close. Quick, go here. Right here. Got a numpty here. This way. Numpty spotted. Go here. Right here. Stop.
Let's relocate here. The enemy's on me. We got company, people. Relocate there.
enemy's firearm.
Enemy here.
Your team.
Are we nutsy right here?
my space.
Hold tight. Got your back.
Pause! Enemy!
Rethinking our strategy. How about moving there?
Best bounce our bums this way. Let's
Head that
reposition
way.
there.
I sense an enemy out there. With my eyes.
Enemy there.
Target spotted.
Extended heavy magazine here. Level 3. Ammo up.
I need it. Let's explore over there.
Let's relocate there. Let's
Let's
reposition there.
explore this way.
Opponent, far.
This way.
Enemy here. Supply over here.
I like the feel of that spot. Let's go.
Check out that area.
Extended energy magazine here. Level 3.
Enemy spotted.
Hostile. My marker.
There's an enemy by me.
Spotted a wee hooligan. Let's check out that area.
Let's go there.
That spot's calling.
right here.
I got a bad guy.
Yeah, I've got you, kid. Yeah, I've got you, kid. You're welcome.
Let's move here.
Let's reposition here.
We have an enemy out there. Enemy, far off. I sense an enemy out there.
Let's head that way. That way. Go.
I like the
Don't
feel
stay
of that
there.
spot.
Good
Let's go.
direction. Quick, go here. Perhaps we shift our orbit this way. I think we should go over to
Let's head in that direction, darlings.
Bad guy, outside our orbit.
We have an enemy out there.
Enemy that away.
Zone in is close.
Bounty spotted.
Bring someone this way. Let's displace here.
Watch out! Enemies here!
Shield sail here.
Switching position. Watch out. Enemies here.
Watch out! Enemies here!
Enemy spotted.
Tango near me.
We'll go this way. This way. Check out the
Hostile, right here.
We should head this way. Watch it. Enemy there. We have a
Ultimate
problem.
accelerant here. Job's going faster. company, people. Go here. Hurry.
Shield battery here.
Hostile. Danger close. Check out this.
The enemy's here.
battery here.
Somebody this way. Let's this place here. I need help.
Ultimate
I
gun
need
here.
you here. Let's get their office that way. Let's go there.
Hold tight. I got your back.
That's not calling to us.
Let's go that
Knockdown
way.
shield here. Level 2.
Back here.
Got numpty here. Smoke there.
Wow, we have an enemy out there.
Have an enemy out there. Watch it. Enemy there. Perhaps we should... Heavy ammo here.
I sense an enemy out there.
Everyone's got
Numpty
favorites.
there.
Let's move.
This could get interesting.
Target over there. Enemy on me. There's someone here.
Gotta clown that away.
Let's see what we have over here.
Think-
I'm watching that spot.
Butchek here.
.30 repeater here. Classic.
Let's go there.
We have a problem. And there they are.
Let's explore this way.
Hostile spotted. here. Level 2.
Hostile over there. Might be something good this way.
Enemy here.
Light ammo
Right
here.
in my space.
Let's go. Let's head in that direction, darlings.
That way you call.
There's bouncer bombs this way.
Shifter orbits that way. On your feet, darling. Let's go there. Stand it. Optics here. Evac tower here. Oh, yeah.
Enemy in my space.
Contact.
Hostile. Danger close.
Enemy. Fuck. Take mine. Let it go.
Picking up gear there.
Care package here. I like the feel of that spot. Let's go.
Respawn beacon over there. Let's check out that area.
Rival here.
heard someone this way. Tango
that
spotted. Danger close. There's company out there.
Let's displace there.
Let's relocate. Let's relocate. Target over there.
Enemy close.
Watch out! Enemy here.
Let's go here. Allons-y.
Hostile right here.
There's a Winopte. Jet there.
Dylan, to there. How about heading there?
Enemy here.
Move here. I think we should go there.
That way, come on. Adversary over there.
Calls to
You're too young for this.
Enemy in sight.
got company out there.
I see an enemy.
Hostile spotted.
Enemy spotted. Over there.
Watch out, competitor is close.
I think we should go there.
Got an jet here. Enemy here.
Enemy. They're not close.
Let's reposition here.